At the end of the day, you could rise to the level of your hopes and aspirations and dreams and passions, but you will always fall to the level of your systems.
In this episode, I'm joined by Chris Fink from Fannit. Chris shares his unusual path, automotive retail, learning digital marketing, and then stepping into Fannit, where he grew from an account manager to one of the owners in the agency.
The whole goal is to engineer a system that thrives whether you're there or not. And that's what gives you the freedom to actually be an owner and not just an operator.
If you've ever wondered how employees become leaders and owners in digital marketing agencies, this is the guy to follow, and this is the episode to watch. Hey, welcome to another great episode of From Grind to Gold. Today, we've got an amazing guest and, truth be told, a partner of mine, Chris Fink. How are you doing today, Chris?
Tony, I'm doing great, man. I'm really excited for this conversation. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah, me too. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about who Fannit is and what you guys are doing these days?
Sure. Well, Fannit is a full-service digital marketing agency that serves specifically the home service contractor sector. So there's some niches within that. By digital marketing, I'm thinking of things like SEO and pay-per-click and paid social, all of the things to get a local service contractor business on the screen in front of their potential customers.
So how long have you been with Fannit now?
I think it's about 5 years now. I came aboard Fannit in 21. I had a full career in automotive retail management. And when I exited that, then I transitioned to another business where we started a med spa. And in that practice, I had to learn how to build a website, and then now I got one, and how to get somebody on the website and, viewing us and like lead gen and things like that. And so I was there did that for a while. And when I exited that business, I had really fallen in love with digital marketing, just was fascinated with SEO and PPC and all the things with it. And so right about that time, I'd gotten an outreach from Fannit, and somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, any chance you're looking for a new gig?" And I was like, yes. It was the perfect time because I was exiting the or planning my exit from the med spa, or thinking about it very, very shortly. So I came into Fannit, and I joined as a strategist, which is kind of synonymous with account manager, but also, our strategists kind of have to know some things about the services, right? Like maybe a little bit more than a standard account manager where you just report and talk to the client. And then over the next couple of years, I just did that. And I think I carved out a pretty good little spot for myself there as one of the, performing strategists. I think I started taking the higher accounts and the more complex accounts, and seeing some success with that. To the point where one day on a call with a partner who shall remain nameless but not faceless, or nameless really, because you're right here. But on that call, you're like, man, I didn't, over the years that we've gotten to know you, I didn't realize that you could have all these different experiences. You could probably be, in some form of leadership in this agency if that's something that you'd want. And I remember pushing back on it just a little bit, like, do I want that again? But we are who we are, you know, and we're wired the way we're wired. And to have this mindset where you're in leadership or entrepreneurs or anything like that, there has to be just about 15% of us that's just freaking crazy. And then, and be comfortable living in a certain amount of chaos, and love that challenge. And so it sat with me like it was now in spinning my head that entire next day. And I think the next day I called you, and I'm like, all right, say more. And so shortly after that, I was given the opportunity to invest in and buy into Fannit as a partner, which has been going great. And then over time, my responsibilities have expanded, and, now kind of more in that leadership function within the agency, which has been an awesome ride.
Well, we started diving in, I can't remember exactly when, but we started diving into EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, In
Yeah.
that first book they have called Traction, and there's EOS Worldwide, which is the organization that runs all those, runs that whole thing. I can't even remember the people who started it. So, but they also came out with that second book called Rocket Fuel,
Yeah.
and we're heavily into that. I know a lot of people know a lot about it, but for those who don't, maybe summarize that system for agencies or EOS in general, because it works for any business, but especially
Yeah.
works well for agencies.
It works really well for agencies, and I have other friends in other businesses or sometimes clients that, in the niches, and they're like, "Yeah, we run EOS." And when I meet them as clients, it's it's so much easier.
Yeah.
But EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and what it's really meant to do is help a business transition from having one person running with their hair on fire, doing all the things, wearing all the hats, into a system that can scale and sustain growth. When a business is started, pr pretty much any business, there's usually somebody with the vision, the drive, the passion that can see the outcome that they're after, who they want to serve or who they want to sell, how they wanna do it, what the vehicle for that is, and that person does everything in the beginning. They have the idea, they're trying to figure out how to manage the marketing, the sales, the finance, the production, the HR, they're trying to do it all. And if it's just you and you're serving 2 clients, this is why it works really well for agencies because it's so clear, right? When you start an agency, that's almost always the way, is you sitting at a table, like, trying to figure out how to get 2 more clients, how to do SEO or PPC for clients. But as that evolves, and then you start hiring people, and usually when you start hiring people, it's really loose. There aren't clear boundaries, there aren't clear guidelines for those people to operate within. So you might start experiencing some HR churn, and then you start experiencing client churn. And so you break something and you backpedal and you go back and you figure that out. And then you realize that you're mismanaging your finances and, or you're not doing delivery as efficiently as you could. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have any leads because you've gotten better at serving your clients than serving your business. And so you stop marketing. And then you realize now you fixed that. And now you're back over trying to fix the sales problem. And all this time, this entrepreneur is running around these things. So the whole concept of EOS is to say, like, just stop. Just stop with that. It's chaos, it's not scalable. You'll you can only drive yourself crazy so many hours of a day. And so the idea is to get the visionaries typically have, like, the bright ideas, but they also think fast, and they have a lot of ideas, and 80% of them suck. But nobody tells them that because they're the visionary, they're the leader, they're the founder, they're the owner, they have the power, they have the juice, they sign the checks. And so nobody tells them like, "Hey, um, I get where you're coming from, but that's a horrible idea." Like, nobody says that. And part of that also is that there's not that level of really deep trust and confidence in each other that you can have that conversation and be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get fired tomorrow because I told the boss I didn't like his idea." So, but once you get that, so you have that visionary operate in their lane, use it like, come up with the next big ideas, go whale hunting, find big JV opportunities, be relationships, be the face of the company, go speak at events. Do those things where you turn on the charm and you talk with your passion, and that has the impact. In the meantime, find an integrator that can say, listen, for the organizational stuff that requires that you show up and you just grind every day and you have to keep your fingers on all the different plates spinning, that person relieves you of that chaos. They also aren't burdened with the need to find the next big idea. They're usually perfectly fine working in the background, just keeping and holding all the different people as you scale and you grow and you build these departments. There's a thing in EOS called LMA, which stands for lead, manage, hold accountable. And just applying those accountabilities, organizing that accountability chart, your org charts, just doing all those process things. That's what streamlines scalability and makes it something you can actually achieve without that chaos.
So we got to a point where I don't know if as you stepped into it or it was a little bit of a, we kind of had I mean, I'll let you explain your take on it, but basically we got to the point where we need a visionary and we need an integrator, and Chris is our integrator. Now, integrator, we use that term, but you could probably interchangeably use COO or director of operations. Like, make sure it all runs and build what we need to build, however we need to build it. I think what happens a lot is you get a CEO or a visionary, a founder that thinks they have to have the idea and help build it too. But actually, when you get to a certain level, it becomes, like I like to say, that you were a genius in the last stage as the visionary, but now that genius, in getting all that stuff done in a crazy way, you're actually a bottleneck. You're actually the roadblock. You become the ceiling as the visionary because you're getting in too much into the day to day, and the the person responsible for leading, managing, and being accountable to building all that stuff is really the integrator, the COO.
Yeah, one of the things that I think I've found and I've seen in some businesses is the visionary is visionaries are typically super smart and they can retain a lot of knowledge and they have really complex, intricate thought patterns, which is super cool, right? Super cool to watch. And just sometimes I just want to talk to them and just like listen to them and watch that work. But what happens is they engineer themselves as a single point of failure. Um, they will build this cool system. And then they'll, at the same time, they're thinking through like, okay, well, I need to have this person do this and this person do that, these other things, but they don't document it because documenting is super boring and like that's not fun, right? And by the way, yeah, I could write a flow chart and do all these different things, but that's lame. I want to work on the cool stuff. And so they go build the system. And especially now with all the AI tools that are out there, like and the different processes, visionaries are out there like, oh, I created this whole system for automating these things, and nobody knows how to access it except them because it's on their account. And it's so they engineer themselves to be a single point of failure. If they go down, the business goes down. And
Or conversely, the business only goes as high as they go.
that's right.
The
Yeah, there
business
was that
only
one
evolves to
saying.
wherever they go to.
Yeah, there's the one saying that, oh god, was it David or Simon? I forget who said it, but at the end of the day, you could rise to the level of your hopes and aspirations and dreams and passions, but you will always fall to the level of your systems. And so if the systems aren't there and they can't sustain that vision, then they'll inevitably fail, or struggle to make the progress that they could make. Um, so, and those things are like they're so typical of the visionaries, but at the end of the day, as much as they bleed for that company, they will bleed for that company and that agency, and they take every person there personally. They take all the success and the clients personally, and yet, um, at that time, they're not being the best steward of that company because they're engineering a system that fails in their absence. And the whole goal is to engineer a system that thrives whether you're there or not. And that's what gives you the freedom to actually be an owner and not just an operator.
Hey, thank you for watching today's video. Wanted to take a little break here and ask you something. If you are a marketing agency owner and you're feeling successful about what you're doing in your agency, you're making money, things are going well, but you feel a little bit trapped and you're kind of searching for that next thing, that next big thing to solve, I just encourage you to stop for a second. And before you decide what to do next, learn your agency owner archetype. It's free. It teaches you about your personality and your identity and why your identity keeps you in a loop of making the same move over and over again, and makes it so that you and your agency are kind of stuck in the same place. Anyway, it's a great report. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Get your agency owner archetype today. And thanks for watching. You've run and are running in the integrator COO role at an agency, and you've also had the guts and the trust, because I think there's a little bit of both that comes along, to let the owners know, like, hey, this needs to work differently. If we're really going to commit to this, because this is another thing I realize is that a lot of people say things, but you got to watch what they do.
Mm.
And you might have people that in leadership roles that say things, but they actually don't end up doing it. And we may have fell into that role or that pattern a couple of times. And you finally just said, hey, we got to have one visionary, one integrator. Who's it going to be? How are we going to do this? And what I'm hoping agency owners who are watching this get out of this is that that took a lot of guts and trust for you to be able to say that to the owners. I'll let you tell the story, but what I want people to get out of this conversation, especially agency owners, is what are the signals from their team that tell them they're probably getting in the way, even though they're intending to help. And they're probably um, engineering something that fails with them, like you said. What are those signals is what I want to get to. And what happens after you get beyond that point? How do you break that cycle with a visionary agency owner?
Yeah, that's a big topic.
We could go a
You know,
lot of different angles, but
there are a lot of different ways to go there. I think, I think some of the signs that if you keep plateauing and there's always a max peak, one of my favorite sayings, nothing changes if nothing changes. Right. So
right.
if you keep getting to that point, then it tells you that unless something gets shifted, you're probably not going to pass it. If that keeps continuing to be that ceiling that you keep bumping your head against. I think another thing that happens too is that when you have a visionary mindset and they're so passionate and they're so charismatic as a rule, they often lead by popularity or it becomes a feeling as opposed to managing on facts.
Yeah.
And it takes a very particular type of conversation, like it is a skill set, having a conversation with people saying, you're not doing the job that I hired you to do. So is it because I failed to teach you how to do it, or I didn't give you clear direction on how to do it, or you chose to do it differently? And the answer to that question will define how we continue. Questions like that and that lead manage accountable, having a scorecard for each role all the way through the system and somebody directly accountable to manage that and then somebody managing that. It's not about getting management heavy, but it's about getting visibility on the actual issues in those conversations. When it becomes just like a, hey, how are you? Oh, yeah, did you go to that football game? That's great. And it's all personal talk. And you don't talk about like, hey, performance is slipping. Let's talk about how to get this better together.
Or another thing that's really helpful when you started building scorecards was um, those stories are great and all, but let's get down to the numbers. What does this number mean? Are we doing better? Are we trending in the right direction? Are we trending in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
We're
It
accountable to these things, and here's what I'm saying. Are, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And you even built out the scorecard for the visionary between visionary and integrator, which I thought was really cool because because okay, as a visionary, and I I can go all over the place. I can, I tell stories. I go here. I do this. And you're like, well, okay, well, let's talk about these numbers a little bit. What are we doing here? What does that mean? Where are you having trouble? How can I help? Progress, not perfection
Right.
kind of conversation. And I suspect, and I think, actually, I believe that what happens is as a owner or founder of an agency, and you're thinking about, oh, should I bring in a number two? Should I bring in operational um, leadership, let's say, behind me?
Mm-hmm.
That can be a scary thing because you're so used to a given pattern, you haven't made the decision to evolve to the next place. Give
Right.
you a perfect example. One of my agency partners was talking to him this morning and he goes, Tony, we ran the plan. We got new sales. We built out a first version of onboarding process. I have an account manager now. This guy's never had an account manager. I've got an account manager now, and I've got a VA now. And he said, you know what? He goes, I have more time. And I said, well, what are you doing with that time? And he's like, he dove right back into his old role. And I said,
Uh,
what? Yes, but you know, you just hired that person to do that thing. Like,
right.
let them do that thing. And then I kind of circled back and we talked about, well, what is the biggest issue? Well, we're getting leads in the door, but we're just not having enough conversation with those leads. Oh, are those leads qualified? Oh, yeah, we've gone through them, qualified them, done the research. Are we reaching out to them? Yes, we're just not getting enough conversation. And then I was like, okay, so if we did nothing else, was that what we would do? Get more conversations? Would that solve all of our problems? And of course, the answer is yes, until we started making more sales, and then that pushes on other systems. Okay, but for right now, in the next 90 days, so what's the one thing we need to do? Have more conversations. Now, he's still in sales because it's a smaller agency. And I said, who is that person that needs to have that conversation or those conversations? And he's like, me. And I go, um, so, so of the last 5 conversations that you've had, where did they come from? Well, some came from cold email outreach, but that's not working as well. Some came, oh, we're doing this new thing where I have a podcast and I interview people. He said, but the conversations I had were people that were a little bit too big than we're ready to serve. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, what were those conversations about? And it slowly started to dawn on him. And I go, by the way, how many people did you invite to have for those conversations? He said, well, just 2. Oh, how many said yes? Well, 2. Oh, so you're batting 1,000. Now it's a small sample size, but you're batting 1,000.
Right.
I go, if I said, go find 10 people to have a podcast conversation with in the next 2 weeks, could you do it? Do you have the list? Oh, yeah, we got the list right here. See if you can do it, because you know they're gonna say yes. And even if they don't, and you know this play, right? So it's you're chuckling a little bit, but
Yeah.
he doesn't know that play yet.
Right.
Um, the point of that whole conversation is every owner, every agency owner is at a different stage, and then they need different things.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see past hard to see past the stage you're in. Now we can go to peer groups, we can find coaches, but it's really hard to see past the stage you're in. So if if you were to talk to people or agency owners who hadn't hired an integrator or a COO operation type, that's all synonymous. What would you say to them about what that next stage looks like, feels like, is like having that person?
Well, from the visionary side, I mean, there's some things I have to speculate on, right? Because I'm on the other side of it as the integrator. But I'm a couple things when you start approaching that point, and you're thinking, okay, I have to pay somebody to do stuff that I already do. They're probably not going to do it as well. They're not going to do it as fast. They're not going to know everything that I know. And yet I got to spend money that I don't have to spend now if I just do it. So do I want to spend that money? Uh, or do I just want to keep it? And if I do spend the money, then is my time gonna shift from doing the work, which I'm already better than anybody else at, or to teaching them how to do it? So I gotta spend money to spend my time to teach somebody else to do it. That
Hmm.
doesn't seem like it makes sense. And
Right.
this is a natural reaction that a lot of people like start, and that's one of the it's like one of the core justifications to not do it, right? It's like, oh yeah, you just get this feeling, I don't wanna, and then you
Yeah.
start rationalizing why you shouldn't, and then it's like, oh,
Well,
this is what's gonna happen,
good profits are hard to let go of.
right? And integrators typically aren't cheap, and the weird thing is there was a study done. Uh, Was it who was it that did it? Was it Jim Collins that did it? No, it wasn't. It was a traction study. And, th you know, visionaries and entrepreneurs account for about 24% of the population, right? They have the 24% of the population has the ability to be a great visionary and all that. They actually see success when they partner with an integrator or somebody who can execute their vision. And like less than 10, like 4 or 6% of people are really well suited to being an integrator. It's
Hmm.
just a tougher thing. In It's not tougher. That was I misspoke there. It's not tougher. It's just different, and it's really tough for a visionary to do that thing. Just like it's tough for me to come up with the next big idea and have, the vision and see the end game and go do it.
Yeah.
So, but getting past those blockers, we tell clients and agencies that if they don't release some ad spend budget, how could they possibly ever scale? Nothing changes if nothing changes. They're not gonna grow if they don't increase their investment. You can't start at a $10,000, "Oh, I'm gonna start at 10% of revenue, and I never want it to be anything other than 5% of revenue after that." Like, it's not it nothing, right? It doesn't grow that
Yeah.
way. So, if you're thinking about how to unlock yourself, then investment has to come with it, and you release some things, but the key to it working is you need to have some faith and confidence in that person that you're putting in there, some trust. You need to
Yep.
trust and you need to let go. You have been clutching those reins for dear life since the day you signed that LLC paperwork. You've
Right.
been clutching those reins and just trying to stay on that horse. And now you have to get off, hand the reins, and not look at the horse, not look at the reins, not look at how they're riding, not look at any of that. You have to let go, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's super challenging, and you have to trust that person to be like, "Okay, they understand my vision, and they're gonna execute on it, maybe in ways that I don't understand, and that's okay." And then that person has to trust you to give you the feedback and say, "Hey, I got it. Um, based on
Yeah.
the evidence and the math, the facts over feelings, this is probably a great way to go about this. This is a terrible way to go about this. This might have a chance down the road. Let's talk about how we can get there together." But those conversations where you can just be honest and transparent and share those facts without it being like, "Hey, I don't think you're smart. I don't like you as a person." That's not the conversation. The conversation is the math supports this decision.
Yeah.
So when you get that relationship and you can talk to people freely and just say like, I love you. You're great. You're one of the people, like, there's not many things in the world that would be required of me that I wouldn't do for you, except lie to you."
Yeah. Lying to yourself, one of the it's so easy to do, and it's not you don't even think about it as lying. You're just
No,
like, "Oh, I'm just being me."
it's
And that's the
unintentional
hard part
dishonesty.
because it's part of your personality.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things is, doing this creative creatures thing, I had to get to a point where I'm like, first of all, if I'm not all in on this, it's not gonna work. I need to make the thing the thing.
Yeah.
Second of all, when I look at the things I've gotta let go of, which in some cases was a role paying me decent money, um, it was, relationships. Like, you and I don't meet every week like you used to, and
Right.
I don't meet every week with like, relate you have to let go all of that stuff, and, um, you have to realize that, uh, I think you have to do there's a purpose you have to have. If you don't have a purpose or a reason, like I I'm trying to do this, stay the path of the mission of 1,000 fulfilled founders. Well, what is a fulfilled founder? Well, it's agency owners who experience freedom. Freedom is freedom of time, money, relationships, like who they work with and when they work with them, and purpose. And that requires those agency owners to explore those things about themselves.
Yeah.
And we choose we make the engineering choice to evolve ourselves. And it is scary as all scary can be.
Right.
Um, I'm here to tell you, because then you go, well, now what?
Yep.
I
And you're
had this
back to
grind I had going that I could wake up and grind to.
right.
Familiar. I knew how to work it. I wasn't stressed about the grind. I figured it out, but there wasn't the progress. So things needed to change, evolve, adjust, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the people you choose to surround yourself with. But you also need to be someone who can go make new friends. It's
Yeah.
really odd, I have to tell you. It's a little your life, you've been through a few transitions in careers and jobs.
Yeah. Yep. More than one. Yeah.
So, and if you think about it, I go all the way back to my first job to now. Like, how many times have I done that?
Yeah.
But the fact is, when you get a little bit older and you have a little bit more skin in the game and there's more risk and there's more at stake, more zeros, as my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
likes to say. There's more zeros involved. It's well, maybe, so you have to want it.
Yeah. You have to
You
want it.
have to want it.
There's you said something in there that made me think like, uh, and reminded me of something. It, and visionaries in these roles, they visionaries have the ability to rationalize any argument to themselves. They can
Yeah.
make sense of any viewpoint that they land on. If they just arrive there, however they arrive there, if they arrive at a viewpoint, they can justify it and make sense of it. It's some of the most brilliant salespeople that have ever lived. And it reminds me in a way, it's kind of almost like addictive thinking, right? But in this case, instead of being like, say, a drinker or have other type of problems, you're addicted to your business, right? And so if we think about like as an example, if there was somebody that had a drinking issue, right? Then they don't actually need a reason to drink. They'll say, "Oh, I just won this deal. I'm gonna have a drink to celebrate." "Oh man, my best friend's mad at me, or I lost that golf game, or whatever. I need a drink to make myself feel better." Neither one of those things are true. You just want a drink
Mhm.
for other reasons entirely. But instead of saying that, just like, "I feel compelled to have a drink because I just feel like I need a drink." That's okay, I need a drink. Not because I had a win, not because I had a loss. It's so we rationalize these things behind all these different models, and that type of thinking applies also in business when you're addicted to your business, right? Like, I don't wanna hire somebody because. I need to hire somebody because. I don't wanna hire somebody because. I need to make this change because. It's not about the because. The because factors into it when you have an integrator, like, breaking down the math, but the problem is that are you at the right place talking about the right thing, making the right decision based on the right facts, or is it just a feeling? Like, I don't want somebody else to do it. I like doing this. I'm better at it. This is my baby. This is how I built this company. These are my people. This is how we're gonna do it. I
Yeah.
don't wanna. And you start throwing your toys out of the crib, right? And a lot of times self-sabotage can become really evident with that because you don't have the confidence and the trust to move forward in a way that is completely unfamiliar territory. What you're doing, Tony, is completely unfamiliar territory for you in numerous ways. Like you're familiar with running an agency and operating in these levels, but you're figuring new things out. You're learning new things. And so you had to let go of the things you knew and be open to feedback and new conversations, like what the true pain points are out there. And not just what you think they are. And you're
Yeah.
getting that feedback now, and that's and now you're getting, like, more informed. This is where you, like, serve as a great example of this because you can absorb that feedback. But there are a lot of visionaries, probably some that are watching this, that really struggle to absorb that feedback, and it's just like, if they come in, they're like, "Oh, no, that doesn't make sense." Yeah, all right, well, what do you know? They don't know. They don't know. They don't know what I know.
Yeah.
And that is can
Or
wind up
you
being the
say, "Hey,
blocker.
look, you're making a great point." Another thing that happens is you say, "Well, look, I have all this experience. I'm just imparting my wisdom." And maybe that's true, but I think once you've heard the same message said 3 different times, it's a signal that, like, they're trying to tell you something and they don't have the right words or the courage to, like, hit you over the head with it, and they're trying to
Right.
be polite.
Yeah,
And it's like I always tell people, it's like, Don't worry about offending me.
right.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. You can whatever it is, hit me across the face with it." But over time, you get to listen to subtle hints and, you read between the lines and you move on. Sometimes that makes it smoother, sometimes it makes it more difficult, but I think if you are an agency owner and you're listening to this and you're hearing things like, um, or experiencing things like, "Oh, we've had the same conversation multiple times. Why isn't it changing?"
Right.
Whether you think it's that other person or you, if that's going on, make note. Um, Things like, I'm trying to remember a few things that you actually probably said to me or to Keith in this. Keith's our other business partner in Fannit. It's facts over feeling.
Yep.
Like, how is this actually happening? What's actually going on? Not how we feel about it. And if those numbers keep coming up in the wrong direction, something's got to change. Um, so it's just like listening for those elements. I don't know. Do you have any examples you might think about? Like, hey, if you're hearing this as an owner, that's a signal you have a problem.
Yeah, I think
Or it might be you, not them. Or
yeah, I do think that it's, you're exactly right. If you hear the same thing 3 different times and you're paying attention to the conversations, maybe it's said 3 different ways, but it's the same message, then it probably
yeah,
is a sign something needs to change. And I think at the end of the day, if you if you really wanna know, it I guess you could just ask yourself the question, "Am I running this business or am I working on it?" Because if you're running it, you're an integrator. If you're working on it, you're a visionary. And I mean, it really comes down to like that easy. And
yeah,
you didn't start it to become an expert in finance, or, I mean, unless you're in finance, but you typically didn't start a business to be an expert of all the things that it takes for that business to run, right? Like if you're an SEO agency, you're probably a really good SEO. You probably understand SEO.
yeah,
If you're, you start on meta ads, then you're probably good at that. But does that mean you're good at hiring and training and bookkeeping and? So you get somebody who is pretty good at those things and understands those things, and they can surround themselves with people who are really good at those things. And then that person takes that vision that you have and says, "You work on the business. I'll work in it."
yeah. It And working on the business just gets you at a different angle so that you see the problems from a different point of view. And it takes the stress off with the right integrator, the right COO. It takes the stress off of having to solve the problem
Hmm.
necessarily, or having to maybe not solve the problem, but actually deliver on solving the problem.
Right.
Plus, it makes it so that you don't have to solve, or you don't. The one thing that I did was a mistake was like, I'm under pressure and chaos, I'm just fine.
Yeah.
The building could be burning down and I'll be just fine. We'll be fine. Everything will be fine. And I got to the point where I thought, well, maybe I'm like starting some of these fires to put them out subconsciously. Um, and it's like, and that's why I do the 5 archetype thing. And I'm speaking of the firefighter founder kind of thing, but um, really under diving into your own psychology of like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? What should I stop doing?
Yeah.
And when you get a visionary that's really highly motivated, they just crank and go and go and go. And a really good integrator will go, okay, look, we got to do these 3 things and that's it. Because
Right.
we have to do them really well, right?
Yeah.
And
Measure
that's
twice,
hard
cut
to
once.
what's that?
Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually like a great analogy. The integrator is gonna be like, let's measure twice, cut once. A visionary is gonna be like, I cut it 5 times already. What are you talking about? And they're already ahead of you. I was thinking too, like while you're talking that, you reminded me, and you would ask like, what are some things that people would ask or say to you? But I think a lot of it can be questions that you can ask yourself, like, how many times, Tony, did you be like, why does it seem like stuff just can't get done without me having to babysit it? Or
Yeah.
why does it seem like it falls apart when I go on vacation? Why do I have to remind people of the same things over and over? Why do I have to keep saying this stuff? Why am I still dealing with this shit?
Right.
Why does it feel like I'm working in this, but nothing's actually we're not getting traction, but I'm killing myself trying to make all these things happen, but we're not getting anywhere. Why is it I feel like I'm
Yeah.
on a hamster cage? Um,
I love these people, but I'm starting not to like them.
yeah, yeah, that's a great
And
point. Yeah,
it's like, well, we can't have that. That can't be a thing,
yep.
you know?
And if you have like, oh, you might do like a tactical meeting where like, okay, let's set some goals. Right? Okay, well, when's this gonna be due? Okay, let's call on it. Like, let's put a date on it. When's it gonna be due? Okay, yeah, I'll get it done by the end of next month. Okay, do you go back and have the conversation next month? And if it's not done, then what? And if you don't know those two things before that date, then you're still struggling with some of these things. And if you have leadership that doesn't have, they're not all on the same page. And one great thing is just to ask people all through the organization, what's our core values?
Oh, that's a
What's
whole nother conversation.
what's our mission statement? Are we all in the same boat pulling on the same oars in the same direction? Because if we are, we're going to kick ass. But if you're pulling north and I'm pulling south and my partner's looking east, all we're doing is going in circles, bro. That's it. Like we are going in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you, Chris.
Yeah, the same. Uh, eh, Tony, I don't know. I mean, I say this whenever I have a chance. And anybody that's listening here, if you have the opportunity to get into a conversation with Tony, um, just do it because you will leave a better person for it. He brings so much value into the world and into my life personally. There's stories that I could tell that I won't because I always get a little when I talk about it.
Um,
But I have an enormous amount of respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you. And I'm so thankful you're in my life. So thank you for this conversation.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate your time.
All right.